How are we doing, guys? Welcome to another F1 2020 video. Today I'm going to go through some driver ratings because these kind of got released with the trailer the other day, and I just thought, hey, why don't we dive in and see what we think and what you guys might think about the driver ratings. Do you agree? Do you disagree? So we'll start with Red Bull. They're the first team up. So you've got Max Verstappen and Alexander Albon. I'll move them up a little bit so you can see them. So we got a 90 rated Max Verstappen and a 79 rated Alexander Albon. You can see here the cost of their contracts for if you buy them in your career mode. And I've been seeing a few other YouTube videos online, obviously, and seeing a lot of the insight of, like, you're going to start off with no money and you can basically afford, like, one of the worst drivers. I think it's Latifi, maybe. You can maybe afford him at the start, or you basically buy an F2 driver for your team, which is really, really cool, I think. And obviously you build your team as a brand and, you know, you get more money to buy more better drivers. But yeah, $3.5 mil drive buyout and a $7 mil salary comes to a $10.5 mil contract for him. I don't think you're going to get him anytime soon, but 90 rated. I guess 68 experience is fair enough because he's not been in F1 for like a crazy amount of time. His racecraft and pace is insane. I'm assuming he's all out of 100 or 99. 84 awareness. I guess, you know, he's been in a couple of collisions, but, you know, he's a very, very good driver and there's a reason he's 90 rated. It's similar to like Alexander Albon as well. You know, he's got fairly decent stats. Again, like the experience is quite low because he's not really been in F1 for very long. I know people go, oh, you know, he's been in like a year or so, and you know he was driving at Toro Rosso and they got promoted. Like, he's a good driver. Again, it's difficult to work out how you would base their experience because I'm guessing people like Lewis Hamilton, who's been racing for so many years, is going to have like high 90s. I think Raikkonen's the most experienced driver and he's been around forever. I don't know, how do you guys feel about that? I think Verstappen's pace is great because obviously he's a fast driver. His racecraft, which I'm guessing is like their kind of how good they are, you know, overtaking and, you know, their sort of like race strategies, I guess, of how well they do those. I think Albon's pretty good as well. His awareness, I guess, not really his fault. I'm thinking of, wasn't it Brazil where he was in like third and then Hamilton took him out last year. But he looks like a more affordable driver with a 2 mil buyout and a 4 mil salary. It'll be interesting to see. We'll go on to Racing Point where you've got some interesting ratings. I know Sergio Perez is quite a highly rated driver in real life. I know he's only racing for Racing Point, but you know he had some good opportunities and some fallings out. Those of you that watch the Drive to Survive series on Netflix will know all about those kind of situations. Good experience, great racecraft, and his awareness is very high with great pace. It'll be interesting to see how these do affect the AI drivers when you're doing the sort of My Team mode and to see how well they drive. Obviously, if you get a player or you get a driver like Sergio Perez, is there a good chance he could get you some points to your Constructors' Championship? That's always the hardest thing in F1 is making sure you've got a great teammate. And My Team, I think, is really, really going to hit home on that. So we'll wait and see. But Lance Stroll as well, he's got low experience. You know, he's still very, very young, so he's probably... Do you know what would be interesting to see is I don't know if the drivers will gain experience as the years go by. Think about like Hamilton and Raikkonen. They're basically going to retire in the game, surely, before you can even afford their kind of ability, I guess. You know, great racecraft as well and pace. These two are very similar. It's just experience that's a massive difference. You know, racecraft's pretty close. Pace is really, really close. The awareness, there's a little bit of gap, only 7, but you know, they're very evenly matched drivers. And Lance Stroll's quite a cheap driver compared to Sergio Perez. Going to AlphaTauri. Again, these two are exactly the same rating. They're exactly the same price, so if you want to try and buy one, they've got really good livery as well, the AlphaTauri. The car looks incredible. It's quite a good driver lineup, you know. Gasly struggled when he was at Red Bull. I think there's probably a lot of pressure, isn't there, to perform in one of the best cars. Obviously, he didn't. But both 80 rated. Gasly's actually got less experience. I know he's probably not been around as long and he's younger, but, you know, the racecraft is very similar. The pace, Kvyat's actually got a little bit more, but the awareness is hugely different. 13 awareness difference there. Gasly has, you know, a massively high awareness, 87. Now let's go on to the big boys. And one person I feel that does get a lot of, not necessarily a lot of hate, but is Bottas. People always say like, oh, he's not actually that good, his pace shouldn't be that good, but the man comes second like most of the time. I know Hamilton obviously wins most of the races, but Bottas is always right up there. I feel like he kind of gets a bit of I don't know, a bit of a negative rap towards him. I don't know why. I mean, I quite like him as a driver. He always does pretty well, and he's quite consistent, I would say. 99 awareness probably shows that. Hamilton, 89 experience. He's got 93 racecraft, 95 awareness, and 96 pace. I can't imagine you'll ever afford him. 19.5 mil contract cost, 13 mil salary with a 6.5 mil buyout. I don't know how hard it's going to be to afford these drivers. I just don't think you'll end up getting Hamilton before he retires. But, maybe you will, maybe you won't. And Bottas, is nearly half the price. The experience obviously is quite different, but there's only 4 racecraft and 5 pace difference. But the awareness, he's actually got 4 more awareness. So it'll be interesting to see if Bottas is as good as Hamilton. Obviously, the awareness will help him massively. Pace and racecraft are very similar. He's just like half the price, 3.5 mil buyout and only 7 mil salary. On to Renault. Now, these are 2 very interesting drivers. Daniel Ricciardo, obviously, has been insanely good in the past. Kind of feels like his career is diving down a little bit now. It's sort of tailing off a little bit. I think his best chance was probably at Red Bull as opposed to Renault. But we'll see, 9 million contract cost. He's an 87 rated driver. He's got great racecraft, great awareness and great pace. His experience is only 76, which is quite low considering he's not necessarily one of the oldest drivers, but he is one of the older drivers. You got Ocon, who's sort of come back into F1 after losing his seat, and he's come back now into Renault. Be interesting to see how he fares. It's all a bit weird because the whole obviously real life season has kind of gone all over the shop. So be interesting to see what happens with these. He looks like not necessarily an affordable driver, but he's got 2 million buyout and a 4 million salary, so he's the cheaper of the 2 there. But great racecraft as well. Same racecraft as Daniel Ricciardo. Pace isn't far off. There's the experience there. 22 experience difference there for Ocon. On to Williams now. These are probably the only sort of drivers you'll be able to afford early on. Nicholas Latifi. I feel like these guys kind of get really harshly done by because, George Russell was the F2 champion not so long ago and he had a really decent season. I know obviously Williams really struggled, but he was actually kind of not dead last every race with arguably one of the worst cars on the grid, if not the worst car on the grid. And he actually proved he's not that bad. Obviously, experience is going to be low because it was his first season in F1, but he's an F2 champion, so I feel like he probably deserves a bit more experience. His racecraft awareness and pace is all fairly decent. You could probably afford him quite early on in the My Team career mode, I would imagine. Nicholas Latifi is someone you can afford, but he's got no pace, 64, no racecraft at 60. No experience at 32. I feel like that's really, really harsh. I feel that's really harsh on him. And I remember seeing somewhere in a video online that one of the F2 drivers, I think is Matsushima, has got nearly the same stats as Latifi, but Latifi's in F1 and yeah. But you can afford him straight away if you want him as a teammate. Let's put it that way. Then we go into Ferrari, where you've got 2 incredible drivers here. No experience for Charles Leclerc, but great racecraft, great pace, and his awareness is really high. Only a 2.5 mil buyout, so he might actually be quite affordable quite early on. But a 5 mil salary obviously kind of makes it really, really tough to get hold of him. But yeah, 2.5 mil buyout could be an interesting one. It's his experience is letting him down, but it's going to be interesting to see how these stats go into the game and how they kind of manipulate. I'm guessing that's going to be for the AI. So if you are racing against Leclerc, he's going to be fast. He's got the ability to undertake, overtake, late break, whatever. I guess his racecraft's great. It's interesting to see if his experience will make any difference to how they race in game. Now, a player or a driver, I always call them players. I don't know why. Vettel, so expensive. 8 million salary with a 4 mil buyout. He's got massive experience. He's actually got 1 more pace than Leclerc. I'm kind of a bit unsure on the awareness. 81. Obviously, Vettel had a bit of a rough season last year. Kind of think 81 awareness. I don't know. Maybe that could have been a little bit lower. I don't know. Great racecraft. His experience is obviously going to be massively high. Onto Alfa Romeo, and these guys are mental. Like, look at this, right? 98 experience with 91 awareness, and he's got good racecraft, good pace. Kimi Rikknen is only 3 mil buyout, which is kind of like mid-ground, with a 6 mil salary, which is quite high. I don't know if you'll be able to get them before they retire, because I don't know, will they just have like 1 season then retire? So will you ever be able to get Raikkonen? I really don't know. And Giovinazzi, he did pretty well in the season, didn't he? He was sort of in and around the points quite often. Low experience, he's got okay racecraft, okay awareness, okay pace. He's not really too expensive. 1.5 mil buyout, 3 mil salary. Not really a driver I'd probably be looking to get. We then go on to Haas, who have got... I don't know how Grosjean's got 77 awareness. I mean, that man's had more crashes than fresh pairs of underwear, I'm sure. But still, I'm surprised as well their pace is the same, because I always thought Magnussen was like quite a bit quicker than Grosjean. I don't know if you guys feel the same about that, but good experience is more sort of favours Romain Grosjean. But Magnussen's really cheap, 1.5 mil buyout with a 3 mil salary. I always thought he was the #1 driver really for Haas compared to Grosjean, but Grosjean's more expensive, bigger buyout, bigger salary in the game, more experience, more racecraft, more awareness in the same pace though. And then on to McLaren as well. You've got Carlos Sainz, who's actually going to be going to Ferrari soon, so next year could be interesting. Both of them quite low experience, him and Lando Norris. They're both the same price, which is quite interesting, but you may as well go for Carlos Sainz, surely, because they're the same price. He's got more experience, 1 less racecraft, but he's got 3 awareness, 4 pace. But that 13 experience could really, really make a difference. I mean, that's the driver rankings there. You can see the lowest overall being Latifi is 64. The highest, obviously, Lewis Hamilton. What's he, 96 or something? I can't see because this thing's in the way. But yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting to see. Do you guys agree with the driver rankings? Do let me know. Which drivers are you going to be working towards for your team? You know, there's plenty to choose from. Do you think you can get Raikkonen or even Hamilton before they retire? Maybe, who knows? Let me know down in the comments. Do leave a thumbs up if you have liked the video. Do leave some comments down below if you want me to carry on doing some more of these. Subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you soon.